Alright, here's an example of how somebody would use legitimate tools such as GoToAssist, which is a very legitimate tool used by support people all the time, but can also be used for malicious use by anyone, even somebody who's not extremely tech savvy. So here we'll take you kind of through an attack from start to finish. I'm obviously on a legitimate system, so this won't be an exact attack, but it'll be an example of what is typically done. So here's the GoToAssist application, which will allow me to remotely access somebody's computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new session here, and it will create my support session, and I can send a link to anyone that I want to access their computer. So our victim here is another person at Gilware. I'm going to send him an email. It's going to be an urgent email. With the subject, "Your computer has been breached." So in the body of the email, and these emails get, even more likely that they are even more legitimate looking. So here I'm just going to type them a quick one. "Hello, Will. This is Nathan Little from Microsoft. We have detected your computer has been breached by an IP address from Russia. This is we'll say support for this issue was included with your purchase of your laptop. Please follow the below link to let me solve your problem." So again, fastsupport.com is a very legitimate website. It's owned by LogMeIn Inc., the makers of GoToAssist. So there's nothing inherently malicious about it, although like many things it can be used for malicious access. So we'll sign this email as from Nathan Little. Super honest support tech at Microsoft. So I'm going to send this off to Will here, and hopefully he'll see it soon. And he usually wouldn't fall for this, but for the sake of our video, he will. So then my session will activate once he accepts it. Alright, so we can see here that Will has accepted the session, and it's attempting to join. So we should be in just a few seconds here. So now this screen right here is, my full access to Will's computer. I can do anything I want. A lot of times the attacker will be on the phone pretending to be the support agent with the victim. So I could very well be on the phone with Will, but a lot of times they'll communicate through just note-taking apps. So a common thing will be, they'll launch Notepad and say, "Hello, Will. I'm going to look into the issue and see what I can do to help." So then at this time, the attacker can do a lot of things, but usually in this phase, there's going to be some sort of attempt to prove the legitimacy. So possibly open a command prompt, do any number of things, probably some looking at processes. But they'll poke around and try to make you feel like they're doing things that you would expect a support agent to do. So in this case here, they would look at a few things. And then to show you kind of what access I have from this side, I can run this built-in diagnostics tool. So this is going to grab things like the version of Windows you're using, the exact build, so then I know what vulnerabilities your system has. So maybe I'm just doing triage for future attacks. I know your IP address. This is the local IP. And some other things, the MAC address of your computer, the username, obviously, as well as other things like the applications installed, the processes running. So then I can, give you a specific process. And here are all the go-to-assist processes that are running, and that's from me remotely accessing the system. So Will can't see that I'm looking at the diagnostics of his computer right now, but I can see, many things, the services he is running. So I can just do a general triage to see if there's anything I can exploit. And again, I don't really need to exploit anything because he's already given me access to his system. I can see, what type of antivirus is running, see if there's anything I need to disable, if viruses and malware are my goal. So then after, attempting to prove my legitimacy, and usually, more in depth than just opening a command prompt and opening the system in the control panel, I would say, it looks like you currently have a virus. You need to run a full virus scan. You should receive a prompt to run the scan shortly. So, and then there's a lot of things that can happen here, but one thing that can happen is the attacker can use this file transfer feature. And I could send files if I wanted to, drop some malware on the system, set up some ransomware to run it the next time somebody turned on the computer and logged in. I could put anything I wanted to essentially on their computer. Now, I would have to act as Will to run it, and if it required admin credentials, I would have to have Will enter them. But since I've already developed the trust, he probably would have no problem authenticating because he thinks I'm going to run the virus scan. So if I want to transfer files from Will's computer in terms of a data theft, this is showing on Will's screen, so he can see that I'm selecting files. But most people don't, think too much into this, again, because they trust me. So from his desktop, say this SEDS file is super, super important. I'm going to transfer this and to myself. So this is going to my computer in the documents folder. I save it. And this receiving process could be a very long process if I was sending a lot of data. So I could tell that this was I could tell Will that this was a virus scan that was running, and he could, accidentally let me transfer all of the data from his computer. It could take hours. So then we can clear this, we can shut this down. So now I've stolen sensitive data from Will's computer. And to prove that, here is the SEDS folder that I just transferred from Will's laptop. Just modified today, right now. So that's on my local computer, and I've just stolen his data. Again, that didn't take any technical skills. Anybody with an internet connection can conduct this scam. It's not always a hacker with special tools on the other side of things. There's also other tools that I have, chat functionality. If I didn't want to use Notepad, I would seem even more legitimate if I didn't use Notepad. The other malicious thing I can do is I can set up unattended support to this computer, which essentially will allow me to remote back in at any time to provide illegitimate support and do any malicious acts that I want. So a lot of times people will grab data, steal data, and then they'll drop some sort of ransomware. So to show you how that would work, or other malware, not just ransomware, I can send files to the customer. So I can pick files from my own computer and send things to Will's computer. So that could be anything, and I could register it as a service, which wouldn't run now, so he wouldn't expect anything, but the next time he logged in and out of his computer, if that service was set to start on login, it could start encrypting his data or mining for bitcoins or doing any sort of other ransom So then, usually to not cause suspicion after hours of potentially transferring files or doing other malicious things, the support agent would say, "Will, the problem appears to be solved. Sorry for any problems this may have caused." And then that's usually the end of it. They'll close out of a few things. You know, whatever they did may remain a mystery to the attacker. A lot of times these attacks go on for a long time, and they may try to get you to pay them money. Their motivation may just be data theft. It may be to install malware. But this was mostly just to show what it looks like from the eyes of somebody who's using GoToAssist maliciously, and it doesn't take much technical skill. I can end the session and move on to my next victim by just starting a new session and emailing it to someone else.